Thomas Tuchel brought instant tactical balance last season, but now the team look vulnerable and the squad appears fragile. Jonathan Wilson at Jonah Wills, Monday the 3rd of January 2022, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Thomas Tuchel used to be about control. When he arrived at Chelsea a year ago, that was what he brought. Suddenly a team that had been desperately vulnerable on the break stopped conceding on the counter. They held the ball and the 3-4-2-1 gave them a natural defensive structure with two midfielders stationed in front of the defensive line. They won the Champions League because they showed how it was possible to play pressing football without leaving yourself open in transition. That had always been Manchester City's issue, less in the Premier League, although teams such as Leicester have often troubled them, as they did last week even in conceding 6, than against top European sides. They were a remorseless attacking force, as imposing as the Death Star, but they also had that fatal exhaust port that meant they could be destroyed. To an extent that is intrinsic to the philosophy. Push high and of course there will be space behind the defensive line. The question was how to guard against balls played into that space without losing the aggression of the press. City have clearly worked on that. Even in possession they often have 5 men behind the ball. They are more measured in their approach now than they were when Pep Guardiola first arrived in England. But it was Tuchel's Chelsea who seemed to have found the balance, beating City 3 times in the final 7 weeks of the season, including in the FA Cup semi-final and the Champions League final. But while City march on, only 10 points dropped in the league this season, Chelsea have lost that sense of control. Having conceded 4 goals in their first 12 league games of the season, they've conceded 12 in the past 9, with only 1 clean sheet. Their form has been far from disastrous. They have lost only 1 of those games, but equally they have won only 3. And as so often, once the rot sets in, it spreads rapidly. Romelu Lukaku, having suggested he was unhappy with the 3-4-2-1 to which Tuchel has returned, will have further talks with the management on Monday. That is significant not only because he cost £97.5 million and ideally wouldn't be talking about how he pines for Inter 8 league starts after leaving them, but because he seemed the solution to the slight toothlessness that was the only real doubt towards the end of last season. Not only is he a habitual goalscorer, only once in the past 12 seasons has he failed to get into double figures, but he is a player whose movement seemed ideal for Chelsea. Why wouldn't the same drift out to the right to create space for Kevin De Bruyne that has worked so well for Belgium work also with Chelsea's inside forwards? But as he has struggled to make a consistent impact, so Chelsea's entire forward line has come under scrutiny. £71 million for Kai Havertz, £58 million for Christian Pulisic, £47.5 million for Timo Werner, £34 million for Hakim Ziyech. Some have suffered injury or illness and some or all may yet come good, but that's £308 million on 5 players over 2.5 seasons, none of whom could be said to have yet been a resounding success. Chelsea's leading scorer in the league last season was Jorginho, this season it is Mason Mount. Tuchel arrived with a reputation for prickliness, as somebody with a tendency to fall out with players, directors and journalists eventually, but for most of the past year has been dryly charming. Only in the last weeks has that begun had scored more than their forwards when they were keeping clean sheets. The grumbling of a high-profile player matters less when you are winning games. The loss of Mateo Kovacic, first to a hamstring injury and then to COVID, has been hugely costly. Chelsea have conceded only 4 goals in his 10 league starts this season and 3 of those have come in the past 2 games when, Tuchel has acknowledged, he was rushed back. His absence, and N'Golo Kante's ongoing struggles with a knee injury, have increased the pressure on Jorginho, who has at times looked distinctly weary, notably in the defeat at West Ham. The deadline day loan signing of Saul Niguez, who has managed a total of 164 league minutes for Chelsea, has not worked out, and Ross Barkley, 154 league minutes this season, surely has no future at the club. Created by 724 Breaking News. Daily breaking and more news. Please subscribe.